Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Narmeen Sheikh. Tens of thousands of Palestinians fled central and northern Gaza on Sunday after Israel issued new forced evacuation orders and began bombing eastern parts of Gaza City. Israel's stepped-up campaign follows another bloody weekend that saw scores of Palestinian civilians killed, including children huddled in tents, families taking shelter at a sports stadium, and starving Palestinians seeking food at militarized aid distribution sites. In Jabalia, rescue teams pulled at least 15 bodies from the rubble of a home leveled by an Israeli airstrike Sunday morning.
Today they forced us to leave, ordered us to evacuate, and then bombed us with shells and warplanes. Just as we were about to flee, they brought our homes down on us. What do they want from us? Let them tell us what they want. Enough is enough. About 10 people were killed in the house, most of them children.
Earlier today, 10 Palestinians were killed as they sought to collect food at an aid site in Gaza City. 2 more were shot dead at an aid distribution center in Rafah. The killings came after Haaretz reported Israeli officers and soldiers said they were ordered to fire at unarmed crowds near food distribution sites in Gaza, even when no threat was present. Gaza's health ministry reports such attacks have killed over 500 Palestinians since May. Meanwhile, an Israeli court in Jerusalem has cancelled hearings this week in Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's trial, where he faces charges of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. The court's decision came just days after President Trump called for the charges to be thrown out. Russia launched hundreds of drones and missiles at Ukraine overnight Sunday in what Kyiv is calling Russia's largest aerial assault since its full-scale invasion. The attacks killed at least 4 civilians and targeted regions far from the front lines, including in western Ukraine, prompting Poland and its NATO allies to scramble jets along the border. Separately, Ukraine's Air Force said a pilot died when his F-16 jet crashed. Meanwhile, Russia's military said it seized more settlements in Ukraine's east. And for the first time, Russian forces have occupied a village in the east-central Dnipropetrovsk region. In Kyiv, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky signed a decree Sunday withdrawing Ukraine from the Ottawa Convention, which bans the use of landmines.
This concerns all those countries which border Russia. Anti-personnel mines are the instrument which often cannot be substituted by something else for defense purposes.
On Friday, the governments of Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia announced they, too, would withdraw from the mine ban treaty following similar moves by Finland and Poland. Meanwhile, Denmark has expanded its military draft to include women for the first time. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that lower court judges will no longer have the power to issue nationwide injunctions, not even to stop the president from taking illegal actions. The case stems from Trump's attempts to bar birthright citizenship, a right guaranteed under the 14th Amendment. After 3 federal judges blocked Trump's executive order, the Trump administration sought emergency relief from the Supreme Court. On Friday, the court's far-right majority granted that relief in a 6-3 ruling, severely curtailing the power of district and appellate judges to prevent the government from enforcing laws or policies that violate the Constitution. The ruling overturns decades of precedent. In a scathing dissent, Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote, quote, "No right is safe in the new legal regime the court creates. Today, the threat is to birthright citizenship. Tomorrow, a different administration may try to seize firearms from law-abiding citizens or prevent people of certain faiths from gathering to worship," she said. In a separate ruling Friday, the Supreme Court sided with parents in Maryland who objected to LGBTQ+ books in schools on religious grounds. We'll have more on the Supreme Court later in the broadcast. On Capitol Hill, senators are debating President Trump's 940-page so-called Big Beautiful Bill following an all-night session that stretched into Monday morning. Republicans are racing to meet a Trump-imposed July 4th deadline to sign the package into law. The Senate Republican version of the legislation makes deeper cuts to Medicaid and health care, with the Congressional Budget Office estimating some 11.8 million people will lose coverage as Republicans propose more than $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid alone. The CBO also warns the current bill will increase the U.S. debt deficit by an estimated $3.3 trillion over the next decade. Meanwhile, the legislation not only ends subsidies for renewable power sources, but would see a new tax applied to solar and wind projects. Senator Bernie Sanders spoke out against the bill in a social media post Sunday.
It is really quite disgusting that you give tax breaks to people who don't need it. You throw 16 million people off the health care that they have. You cut nutrition programs for hungry kids. You make it harder for working class young people to afford to go to college. This is really an obscene piece of legislation.
We'll have more on the Republican budget reconciliation bill after headlines. North Carolina Republican Senator Thom Tillis said Sunday he will not seek re-election when his term expires next year. Tillis's announcement came after he refused to support Trump's budget reconciliation bill in a procedural vote on Saturday. That prompted an angry response from President Trump, who took to social media to hurl insults at Senator Tillis while threatening to support a primary challenger. The Trump administration said Friday it's terminating temporary protected status, or TPS, for over 500,000 immigrants from Haiti who will face deportation when the relief is set to end in September. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem claimed Haiti is safe and no longer meets the requirements for TPS as conditions have improved in the country. Haitians first received the relief following the devastating 2010 earthquake. Since then, worsening gang violence and political instability, fueled by foreign intervention, has led to a worsening humanitarian crisis in Haiti. According to the International Organization for Migration, as of May, more than 1.3 million people in Haiti are internally displaced, many fleeing armed gangs that now control most of Port-au-Prince. Gerline Joseph, executive director of Haitian Bridge Alliance, said in a statement, quote, "Sending back hundreds of thousands of people to a country overrun by gangs where hospitals are shuttered and food is scarce is a direct assault on Black immigrant communities. It's not about policy, it's about dehumanization." This comes as a San Diego federal judge ruled Friday that the Trump administration cannot deport thousands of asylum-seeking families who were separated under Trump's first term and are plaintiffs in a settled lawsuit against the federal government. ACLU attorney Lee Gallant, who represents the families, said the administration has provided no information on plaintiffs who have been detained or removed from the U.S. The ACLU confirmed at least one child who was separated from his parents under Trump's so-called zero-tolerance policy had already been deported. U.S. District Judge Dana Sabro earlier this month found the Trump administration had already violated terms of the 2023 settlement. Over 1,000 immigrant children taken from their parents in Trump's first term still have not been reunited with their families. The president of the University of Virginia has stepped down under pressure from the Trump administration amid a Justice Department investigation into its diversity, equity, and inclusion practices. The abrupt resignation of President James Ryan on Friday came after the Justice Department threatened to block all federal funds to UVA if Ryan remained in office. That's despite the fact that the university's governing board voted last March to close its DEI office and end all diversity policies in admissions, employment, and financial aid. The Trump administration says it is ending the 2001 Roadless Area Conservation Rule, which protects nearly 60 million acres in the National Forest System from logging and the construction of new roads. The environmental law group Earth Justice has promised a legal challenge. The Sierra Club's forest campaign blasted the decision, writing, quote, "Once again, the Trump administration is ignoring the voices of millions of Americans to pursue a corporate giveaway for Trump's billionaire buddies." Canada's government scrapped a 3% tax on technology companies' revenue on Sunday, mere hours before it was due to take effect. The reversal came after President Trump said Friday he would pause U.S.-Canada trade talks and would set a new tariff rate on Canadian goods within the next week. Canada's digital services tax would have raised billions of dollars of revenue annually from U.S. tech giants like Amazon, Meta, and Apple. And millions of people across the globe took to the streets to mark Pride celebrations over the weekend, with many defying government crackdowns on LGBTQ+ communities. In Turkey, police arrested over 50 people Sunday ahead of a banned Pride march in Istanbul. In Hungary, Saturday's march drew an estimated 100,000 people in what is being described as the largest LGBTQ+ Pride celebration in Hungarian history. The peaceful gathering came as an act of defiance against Prime Minister Viktor Orbán and his government's anti-LGBTQ+ policies.
It is this year that the situation got so toxic in Hungary, including in Budapest, that now we need to make our voices heard a little more loudly, I think. Definitely peacefully, but we need to be present and need to be out in the streets.
Here in New York, an estimated 1 million people joined Pride celebrations over the weekend. As the gatherings wound down Sunday night, 2 teens were shot and injured near the historic Stonewall Inn, site of the 1969 uprising that launched the LGBTQ rights movement. No arrests have been made. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Nermeen Sheikh in New York, joined by Amy Goodman in Geneva. Hi, Amy.
Hello, Narmeen, and hello to all of our listeners and viewers and readers around the United States and around the world. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.